Matthew, growing up, if your mom told you to do something and you just looked at her and told her no, what would happen? What kind of wrath would Donna Cawthorn rain down on teenage Matthew if she said, Matthew, do this, and you said no?
We were spoiled by our grandparents. We were not spoiled by our parents. She did not spare the rod and spoil the child. I don't think I could talk about some of the things that were done or would have been done if I just flat out said no, without getting her into trouble with people. So we'll just say that she disciplined me well. She loved me enough to discipline me, and it worked in a lot of ways. I have never since told her no. She gets whatever she asks for, because no is not a proper word with your mom or your dad. Or your wife. Jenna won't get a no either, what she says goes too. So
that sounds about right for my upbringing. When your mom tells you to do something, you do it.
I think the worst thing would be if your dad heard you tell your mom no. I think that would be worse.
Agreed.
Yeah, because the mom would be like, I need to discipline you. The dad would be like, don't you dare disrespect my wife.
Don't you ever talk to my wife like that.
Oof. That'll get the belt out
Good
fast.
Times. Did you know that in the scriptures, Jesus told his mom straight up no one time? Now, obviously, because it was Jesus, it was not a disrespectful no. He wasn't just sticking it to his mom in direct disobedience. Even the wording in John chapter 2, as you read it, maybe it kind of ruffled your feathers a little bit, because Jesus uses a word that in our culture is like kind of generally frowned upon. When a man looks at a lady and calls her a woman, like that has a negative connotation for us. But like, if Jesus said it, it is not dishonoring. It is not sinful. This term here in the Greek was actually a word of endearment. So it wasn't like, hey, woman. It was Jesus looking at his mom in a very loving, caring, compassionate tone and calling her that. It'd be just like if you and I said, like, mom, mommy, mom, I love you, whatever mom name that you had for your mom. But if you were ever wondering, even the mother of Jesus knows what it's like to ask Jesus a question. For us, that's prayer. We're asking God questions, and for God to look at her in the face and essentially deny it.
Yeah.
So like, if you've ever struggled with, I feel like right now I'm getting a no. And it's not that I don't know the answer. It feels like the answer is not right now. Like no. And we know that in John chapter 2, the very first miracle that Jesus ever performed, we know that initially the answer was no, but it was a not right now, because just moments later, Jesus is actually going to do what his mom asked him to do. He just had something that he wanted to teach the crew. But when we talk about saying no, I think it's important in this passage to understand, what do you do when God looks at you in your prayer life and you've asked a specific question and the answer is no. That's why I love John chapter 2 so much. Matthew, talk a little bit about what the servants did and actually what Mary did when Jesus said, woman, now is not my time. No. Right now, no. Well, did Mary pout? Did she cuss him out? Did she say, how dare you do that? Like, Mary's response in John chapter 2, we can learn so much from this.
Well, I love too that she's asking him something that's a good idea even. And so a lot of times the prayers that we're praying, we're thinking about, man, God would be so glorified if he answered this prayer. Maybe it's a radical physical healing for someone with a disease or who's about to die or something like that. And we're thinking, this person's a Jesus-loving, Jesus-following, God-fearing Christian, man or woman. Their family is too. Like, think about how much glory God would get if he said yes. And it's the same sort of thing. Mary's like, Jesus, like, I know who you are in many respects. I know that you are here to do some amazing things. Like, now would be a good time to start this amazing, miraculous ministry of yours. And Jesus is like, nah, now's not the time for public spectacle. He's going to do some many public miracles and things that are going to display who he is and how powerful he is later. But he says, now's not my time for that. And she's willing to be told no. And even more than that, even the servants are willing to be told what to do. We joked about, kids telling their mom no, but kids also hate to be told
Yeah,
no. I mean,
yeah.
we hate that. We hate someone telling us no. Just like God will sometimes tell us no in prayer, or Jesus tells Mary no here. I think the only thing that could rival you and I being told no for something that we hate to hear is being told what to do. I mean, man, does pride and ego flare up when somebody tells you what to do. Even if you kind of want to know what to do sometimes, you're like, well, it needs to be my idea. It needs to be, I might do the exact thing you told me to do, but before that, I have to convince myself that it was my idea so that I'm not being told what to do. Like, right? We hate that. And yet, that's exactly what happens to Mary and the servants. I mean, she even says in John chapter 2, she says, do whatever he tells you to do. And even before that, Mary does what Jesus told her to do. He says no, and she doesn't say please. She doesn't say, well, but Jesus, I mean, son, don't you think, like, there's a lot of people here. You could really make a scene in a good way. God could be glorified. You could be glorified. This would be awesome. She doesn't, she just says, okay, I'll leave. And she leaves and looks at the servants and says, just do whatever he says. Whether it's good, bad, whatever, weird, just do whatever he says. And then the servants do whatever Jesus tells them to do. Go and fill up these jars with water. I mean, it's stuff that we hate, being told no and being told what to do. Yet Mary and the servants were willing to have that happen to them. They were humble enough to be told what to do. And I wonder, for us in prayer, are we humble enough? Are our hearts humble enough to be told what to do? When you read a command in the Bible, are you humble enough to be like, yep, okay,
Yeah.
that's God telling me what to do?
Yeah.
And maybe even scarier than that would be if God uses someone else to tell me what to do, am I humble enough to receive God's correction or God's instruction from another human being? Maybe it's someone who's teaching you God's word specifically, like in our group setting, or maybe at church on a Sunday, or maybe it's just you've been praying about something and you ask somebody about it, or they share something with you and they share advice or counsel, and they say, hey, here's what I think you should do. Or, you know what, man, I got something hard to say, but I need to say it to you anyways. Are we humble enough to receive that correction and instruction, even if it comes from someone else that we know on this earth? I mean, that takes humility.
Yep. Twofold answer. Mary got told no. Here's the challenge. When you and I feel like we're getting a no or a not yet or a not now, Mary responded with obedience, and she responded with working. So like, do whatever he tells you to do, and there's work to be done in the waiting. Like, don't waste the wait. Mary shows us that, the servants show us that, and look at what Jesus did as a result of it. I wanted to close this day out asking you something. We included it in the notes today. I don't want you to think about this or just process it. Like, I actually want you to write it down. Right here in the notes section, I got a question that I really want you to think about and pray and commit to the Lord to do. And it's simply this: God, I'd really like for you to blank. Fill that in. Mary was really honest with Jesus and said, I'd really like for you to fix this problem. I'd really like for you to help this couple out. I'd really like for you to address the situation of no more wine. I don't know what your prayer is, but just be honest, like voice that to God, just like Mary did. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's not insignificant. Just voice it. So how would you fill in that blank? God, I'd really like for you to blank. That's probably the easy part of this prayer. The next line is where I really want to ask you to dig in and hear from the Lord. God, I'd really like for you to voice this prayer, but until then, I'll keep blank. I'll keep being faithful.
Yeah,
I'll
that's good.
keep working. I'll keep praying. I'll keep trusting. I'll keep being cheerful. I'll keep moving forward. What is it, man? Like, make that commitment. Voice the prayer again to God. But make the commitment now. I am going to work in the waiting and be obedient to what God has called me to do. Don't waste it. Continue to voice that prayer to God. And man, like Mary, it's not too big, not too small, not too insignificant. Voice it, but then make God the promise. While I wait on you, this is what I'm going to continue to do.